The Job tool functions just like the Auto Patch tool, except that after measuring a patch, it compares the readings to color standards and tolerances and returns pass-fail results. Additionally, the Job tool stores the data for future analysis. Keep in mind the Job tool is only available on the eXact Standard and eXact Advanced. If you haven't already, be sure to watch the Auto Patch Tool tutorial to learn more about automatic patch recognition and how to change patch selection manually. Because the Job tool does more than just measure a sample, it requires the use of job templates to define all of the required color standards, tolerances, and measurement parameters needed to return pass-fail results. These can be industry standards or custom standards created for your specific workflow. Several pre-made job templates are included on the eXact software disk. If no templates have been installed on your instrument, view the eXact Manager tutorial to learn how to install them before viewing this section. In addition to the main Job tool, there are 3 tools that are specific to industry standards: the G7 tool, the PSO tool, and the Japan Color tool. Each of these has a different paper QC, gray balance QC, and TVI table and settings pre-configured to conform to these print environments. Let's start by looking at a job tool that uses templates that include industry print standard targets. I will use the G7 tool in this demo, but the PSO and Japan Color tools work the same way. Tap the button under Select Job Name. Here, we can select the name of an existing job or create a new one. Let's create a new job name. The name can be anything, such as a client job number or client name. I'll use a client's job number. Up to 100 unique job names can be stored on the eXact, and they can be managed and removed using the eXact Manager software. See the eXact Manager software training module for more information. Tap the job name to select it. Job tools are based on job templates. Remember, the job templates include the target values for production along with the specified tolerances. Only job templates that have all of the targets and tolerances required for G7 production will be listed in the G7 tool. PSO and Japan Color templates will only appear under PSO and Japan Color tools respectively. For this exercise, I will use Grackle P1 WB. Now, you see that you have selected a job name and a job template. Tap OK to start. When measuring patches in the Job tool, the eXact will automatically identify the patch type and bring up the appropriate function. When starting a session, you must first measure your paper, then the solid inks. After these initial measurements, you can take any measurements in any order. You can see L star, A star, B star values of the paper. Here we see the paper delta E value. This is comparing your paper measurement with the target value stored in the template. These values show how far off the color is in lightness and in color within L star, A star, B star. The Job tool can also display icons to let you know how well the measurement meets the print target values in the job template. This symbol shows that you are within tolerance. This symbol shows that the measurement is within tolerance but is close to failure, and action may be required. This symbol shows that it has failed and action is required. This pass-fail feature can be enabled in the tool settings. Repeat this for your solid inks in any order. I'll read cyan first. When we measure a solid ink with the G7 tool, by default, we see the Best Match function. This tool provides guidance on the quality of the color match and how to correct the color. For more information on this function, see the Best Match function tutorial. At the top, we see the target value that is closest to the measured value of the patch. The target value is part of the job template. So in this case, we measure the cyan patch and the name of the patch is the name that is used in the job template for cyan ink on number 1 grade paper measured with a white backer. If this does not match the actual patch that you have measured, then your press may still be very far from the target values in the job template. As with other tools, you can change the patch target by using these buttons. After measuring, if you see 2 or more dots at the bottom of the screen, you can swipe to change the display to show the data that you need to view. This is similar to the Auto Patch tool, but in the Job tool, many of the functions will show delta values. For details on each of these functions, see the User's Guide. As we continue taking measurements of our solid inks, this window will remain active and will show the measurement values for each patch. After all of the solids have been measured, you can continue to take measurements of any of the patches in the color bar in any order. Let's take a look at our red trapping. The eXact automatically recognizes the red patch. It uses the previous measurements of the magenta and yellow along with this measurement to calculate the ink trapping. If you swipe the window, you can view other active functions. For example, we can see L star, A star, B star values and delta values that can be very important when printing to standards. There are a number of ways that a pressman may be required to look at colors. The eXact will allow the pressman to select the features that show the data that is needed and disable the data that is not needed. For example, we can see that we can view both L star, A star, B star, and LCH. Perhaps we only need to see one of these. Let's look at how to enable and disable functions. Tap on the up arrow at the bottom of the screen. Here is where we can select the functions that we want to make active. Under Active Functions, you will see that they are divided by function type. First, we see all paper functions that are available. Where there is a check in the box, the function is active. Then we can swipe to menus at the right to see solid functions. If you scroll down, you can see there are a lot of functions available. You can place checks in the boxes for data that you need to see for this tool. If we swipe to see the functions to the right, we see tint functions, overprint functions, and gray balance functions. These feature selections only apply to this job tool. If you create additional job tools, you can select different groups of features based on the needs for different kinds of jobs. Use a G7 tool for jobs that conform to a G7 process. Use the Basic Job tool if you do not need to meet industry standards. You might have a need to run some types of jobs only to density and dot gain, while other clients might require L star, A star, B star values for solids and overprints along with TVI. You can create and configure separate tools for each of these kinds of work. I'm not going to make any changes at this time, so I'll tap in the back button to return to the top level of the menu, and then tap on the down arrow to hide this window. Let's measure a TVI patch. TVI is also known as dot gain. The eXact will automatically recognize the patch type. For example, if I measure a 50% cyan patch, this job template will show us the cyan density and tone value measurements. After we have measured the other two 50% patches for magenta and yellow, we can swipe the display over one more and we can see the TVI spread of our inks. A high spread or difference from the highest to the lowest will lead to a gray balance problem. Next, we can measure the gray balance patch to see how neutral it is. Gray balance is included with the G7 job template, but may not be included with other default job templates. In this job template, it shows us the densities for all of the colors. To achieve a proper neutral gray, all three, C, M, and Y, should measure very close to the same number. If we swipe the display, we see density values and a guide for making adjustments on the press to correct the gray balance. The arrows tell us which way we need to make the adjustment, and the bar graphs tell the amount of error in the color's density. All job tools can be run in either make-ready mode or production mode. Every new job defaults to production mode and will store the data for this job. If you prefer to not store the press make-ready measurements, switch the job to make-ready mode. Tap the sheet selection icon in the upper left corner. Then uncheck the production mode box and tap the back button. Now, the sheet selection icon does not show a number and no measurements will be stored in the data file. Continue to take measurements of press sheets until they come into tolerance. When you are ready to switch to production mode, tap the sheet selection icon and check the production mode box. You will see the sheet selection icon now shows the sheet number that you are measuring. Tap the back button to continue taking measurements. After you have finished taking all of the measurements for a sheet, tap the Sheet Selection button and tap New Sheet to save the data for that sheet and start measurements for the next one. Continue measuring the next sheet. If you have measurements that you do not want to save, tap the Sheet Selection button, then the Clear Sheet button instead of New Sheet. This will delete all of the measurements for the current sheet. Then you can restart the measurements for that sheet number. When you are done measuring a job, tap the Home button. Tap the Home button again to confirm. If you wish to continue measurements on the same job, simply select the same job name when opening the Job tool.